Japan is responsible for some of the most impactful inventions in modern daily life that other countries are still trying to catch up with. A train that travels faster than most planes fly, ice cream engineered not to melt, and a single scan that replaced every menu, ticket, and link in the world with one camera tap. Japan doesn't just invent things, it invents things that remove daily frustrations so thoroughly that you forget what life looked like before they existed. Today, we're counting down 21 Japanese inventions that instantly fix daily frustrations. Watch until the end because number 21, a fridge that opens from both sides, proves that even the most ordinary objects still had room to be improved. Number 1, the bullet train. Before the Shinkansen, long-distance rail travel meant hours of slow movement between cities, with no guarantee of arrival time and no particularly good reason to choose the train over a car or a plane. Japan fixed all of that in 1964 with a train that now reaches speeds of over 300 kilometers per hour and operates with an average annual delay of under a minute across the entire network. The Shinkansen didn't just make trains faster, it redefined what punctual transit could mean, producing a system so reliable that missing a departure because the train left early is genuinely part of the culture rather than a complaint. Every high-speed rail network built anywhere in the world since 1964 has been built in reference to what Japan proved was possible. The Shinkansen set the standard by which every other train in the world is now measured, and most of them are still catching up. Number 2, conveyor belt sushi. Before conveyor belt sushi, eating at a sushi restaurant meant either waiting for a chef to prepare each piece individually at a counter or paying the kind of prices that made a sushi dinner a considered occasion rather than a Tuesday lunch option. Japan's kaiten sushi format placed freshly prepared sushi on a moving belt that circulates past every seat continuously, so the food comes to you the moment it's made rather than the moment a chef has time to prepare it. You take what you want when you want it, and the bill is calculated by the plates you've collected rather than by an order you placed 15 minutes ago. The format made high-quality sushi accessible to anyone who walked through the door at any price point, and produced a dining experience so efficient and enjoyable that it spread globally and remains one of Japan's most recognizable contributions to how the world eats. Number 3, non-melting ice cream. The frustration of ice cream is universal and specific. You buy it, you eat it as fast as you reasonably can, and it still finds a way to melt onto your hand before you finish. Japan fixed it by engineering an ice cream that simply doesn't melt the way every other ice cream in the world does. Kanazawa ice uses a natural strawberry polyphenol extract that binds the fat and liquid in the cream together, even as temperature rises, preventing the separation that causes conventional ice cream to collapse. The result holds its shape in direct sunlight for significantly longer than any standard soft serve manages before becoming a liquid. It tastes like ice cream. It looks like ice cream. It just refuses to behave like one. The race against the heat that defines eating ice cream everywhere else simply doesn't exist. And once you know that's possible, the melting version stops feeling like an acceptable default. If you're enjoying this so far, go ahead and tap like. It tells YouTube you want more of Japan's clever, everyday innovations. And if you love discovering things you didn't even know existed, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this list. Trust me, the next ones are even cooler. Number 4. Transparent public washrooms. Japan's transparent public toilet installations, designed as part of the Tokyo Toilet Project by architects including Shigeru Ban, feature walls that are transparent when unoccupied and turn completely frosted and private the moment the door is locked, solving the problem of unhygienic public toilets by making their condition visible before you commit to entering. You see the cubicle is clean before you go near it. The door locks, the glass frosts, and your privacy is complete. When you leave, the walls return to transparent, signaling to the next person that the facility is vacant and clean. The design addresses the most consistent reason people avoid public toilets everywhere else in the world. Not the using of them, but the not knowing what's inside before the door closes behind you. Japan made the interior visible from outside and the problem of the unknown public toilet disappeared entirely. Number 5. Emojis. Before emojis, written digital communication had no reliable way to convey tone. A message that was meant warmly could be read as cold. Sarcasm was indistinguishable from sincerity. The emotional register of a sentence existed entirely in the interpretation of the reader, rather than the intention of the writer. Japan's Shigetaka Kurita created the first set of 176 emoji in 1999 for a mobile internet platform, designing small pictographic icons that could communicate emotion and context in a single character. The idea spread globally and is now a universal visual language embedded in every digital communication platform in the world. Every thumbs up, every laughing face, every heart you've sent to anyone on any device in any country was made possible by a Japanese designer who recognized that text alone was an incomplete communication tool and built the missing piece. The frustration of being misread in a message became significantly less common the day emoji arrived. Number 6. The electric rice cooker. Before Japan's electric rice cooker, preparing rice correctly required constant supervision, precise timing, and enough experience to recognize the exact moment between perfectly cooked and burnt that no instruction could reliably communicate to a beginner. Japan automated the entire process. You measure the rice, add water to the marked line, press a button, and return to perfectly cooked rice at the correct temperature with no monitoring required at any stage. The thermostat turns the heat off at exactly the right moment. Modern smart induction models adjust temperature and pressure based on rice variety and quantity in real time. Today, the electric rice cooker is a standard kitchen appliance in hundreds of millions of homes across Asia, producing consistent results for people who eat rice daily without requiring a single skill to operate beyond the ability to press one button. The overcooking of rice became a problem that simply stopped happening once Japan put a thermostat in a pot. Number 7. Hybrid vehicle technology. The combustion engine had been the only viable option for personal vehicle propulsion for over a century. Japan proved it didn't have to be. Toyota's Prius, launched in 1997 as the world's first mass-produced hybrid vehicle, combined a petrol engine with an electric motor in a system that switched between or combined both power sources automatically depending on driving conditions, reducing fuel consumption and emissions significantly compared to any equivalent conventional vehicle. The technology proved that the trade-off between performance and efficiency that had defined the combustion engine era was an engineering limitation rather than a physical law. Hybrid technology has since been adopted by virtually every major vehicle manufacturer in the world and forms the foundation on which fully electric vehicle development was built. Japan looked at a century-old engine design, identified what it was wasting, and built a better version. The rest of the automotive industry spent the following decades following where Toyota had already been. Number 8. QR codes. Before QR codes, sharing a link, a location, a payment detail, or any piece of digital information with someone physically present required either reading it out, writing it down, or finding another device to send it to. Japan invented the shortcut. Denso Wave's QR code, developed in 1994, encoded information in a two-dimensional pattern that any camera could read instantly, connecting a physical surface to any digital destination in a single scan. Menus, tickets, payment systems, product information, boarding passes, and contact details all became scannable surfaces rather than things requiring manual input. The frustration of bridging physical and digital information was one of the defining friction points of the early internet era. Japan produced the mechanism that bridged them in under a second, and the QR code went from a factory floor tool to the most widely used information transfer standard in the world, without anyone designing a replacement because nothing improved upon the original. Number 9. The Stapleless stapler. The stapler has worked the same way for over a century. You load it with metal staples, you press it, and the staples hold the paper. The problems are modest but persistent. The staples run out. They need to be removed before recycling. They snag on other documents. The dispenser needs restocking. Japan's Stapleless stapler cuts a small flap from the paper itself and folds it through a slot to hold the pages in a locked position. No staple is inserted. No metal is used. The paper binds itself using only the material that was already there. The hold is secure enough for normal document use. The pages separate cleanly when pulled apart. Nothing metallic ends up in the recycling stream. The supply of staples required to operate the device is exactly zero because the device requires no staples. Japan found a way to make a stapler that uses no consumables, and in doing so made the staple feel like an engineering choice nobody actually needed to make. Number 10. Self-healing car paint. Every car accumulates minor surface scratches over time. Keys, car wash brushes, rings on fingertips, branch contact. None of them are serious enough to repair professionally, but all of them are visible enough to be quietly frustrating every time you walk past your car in good light. Nissan developed a clear coat paint technology incorporating a special resin that flows back into position when the molecular bonds in a scratch are disrupted, using ambient heat or sunlight to restore the surface to its original condition within days of the scratch occurring. You wake up and the scratch from yesterday is gone. Not hidden, not filled, gone. The surface is restored to the condition it was in before the scratch, because the material itself moved back into place. Japan made car paint that heals itself, and in doing so, made the permanent minor scratch feel like a problem that was always waiting for someone to solve it. Number 11. Tactile pavement guidance tiles. Japan invented the raised dot and bar tile system embedded into pavement surfaces in 1965, creating a physical navigation network that guides visually impaired pedestrians through city environments using their feet rather than their eyes. The dot pattern signals a decision point or hazard. The bar pattern indicates a safe direction of travel. The two together form a complete wayfinding system installed at street level across every major transit hub, pedestrian crossing, and public building in Japan, navigable by anyone using a cane without requiring external assistance, a device, or a sighted companion. The system is now used in over 150 countries worldwide under the name 10G blocks and represents one of Japan's most significant contributions to accessible urban design. Before the 10G block, navigating a city independently with a visual impairment required either memorized routes or assistance. After it, the city itself became the guide. Japan put the navigation on the ground and made independence available to people for whom it had previously required extraordinary effort. Number 12. Cairo disposable hand warmers. Cold hands in winter are one of the most persistent minor physical discomforts of daily life, and for most of history the only solution was gloves, pockets, or proximity to a heat source. Japan invented a better answer that fits in a jacket pocket. The Cairo is a small flat packet containing iron powder, salt, water, and activated carbon that generates heat through a chemical oxidation reaction when exposed to air. You open the outer packet, air reaches the contents, the reaction begins, and within minutes you have a heat source that maintains warmth for 8 to 12 hours without any power source, any flame, or any ongoing maintenance. The product is sold in every convenience store in Japan at the first sign of cold weather and is genuinely warm enough to make a meaningful difference to comfort during outdoor winter activities. Japan made portable heat available for the price of a coffee, and the frustration of having nowhere warm to put your hands in. Winter became entirely optional. Number 13. HAL Wearable Exoskeleton. Japan's Cyberdyne developed a robotic exoskeleton called HAL, Hybrid Assistive Limb, that reads the faint bioelectrical signals sent from the brain to muscles, detects the user's intention to move, and provides powered mechanical assistance to complete the movement for people whose muscles are too weak to do it alone. The system works for patients with neuromuscular conditions, spinal cord injuries, and stroke-related muscle weakness, providing the physical support required to walk, stand, or move limbs that the nervous system is attempting to control but the body can no longer execute without assistance. HAL is not a static support device. It moves with the user's intention rather than following a programmed motion, meaning the movement remains natural and the brain-muscle connection continues to be exercised rather than bypassed. Japan built a device that reads what the body is trying to do and helps it succeed, turning the frustration of a body that cannot execute what the brain intends into a problem with a wearable solution. Number 14. Sony Active Noise Cancelling Headphones. Background noise is one of the most consistently disruptive features of modern daily life. Commuter trains, open-plan offices, aircraft cabins, busy streets. The noise is constant. It affects concentration and rest. And until Japan produced a solution, the only options were earplugs that blocked everything indiscriminately or just enduring it. Sony developed active noise cancellation technology that uses microphones to sample surrounding sound, generates an inverted audio signal that cancels the incoming noise, and applies it through the headphone driver in real time, reducing ambient sound without blocking the audio you actually want to hear. The technology is now built into headphones used by hundreds of millions of people daily on commutes, flights, and in workplaces around the world. The ability to create a pocket of quiet anywhere you happen to be was not possible before Japan invented the mechanism that produces it. The frustration of unwanted noise became a problem you could carry the solution to in your bag. Number 15. Maglev train technology. Japan's superconducting maglev train technology uses magnetic levitation to lift the vehicle entirely off the track, eliminating friction and allowing speeds that no wheel-on-rail system can approach. Japan's SCM maglev holds the world speed record for any rail vehicle at 603 kilometers per hour, achieved in testing in 2015. The technology removes the mechanical contact between vehicle and track that limits the speed of conventional trains, produces a ride of extraordinary smoothness, and requires no moving parts in contact with the guideway during operation. Japan's Chuo line, currently under construction, will use Maglev technology to connect Tokyo and Osaka in approximately 40 minutes, a journey that currently takes around 2.5 hours on the existing Shinkansen. Most countries are still building high-speed rail systems that Japan was already improving on decades ago. The Maglev represents where transit goes after the bullet train, and Japan is already there. Number 16. Karaoke machines. Before karaoke, singing was something that happened at live events with musicians, in rehearsed performances, or not at all for most people. Japan invented the format that made singing a thing anyone could do anywhere with any song in front of anyone they chose for the price of a drink. The karaoke machine, developed in Japan in 1971, combined a microphone, an amplifier, and a library of songs with instrumental backing tracks, removing the only practical barrier between wanting to sing and actually doing it. The format spread globally and is now embedded in the social culture of dozens of countries. Japan also developed the private karaoke room, a bookable enclosed space for a group or a solo visitor that removes the performance anxiety of a public audience entirely, making singing an option for people who enjoy it privately but would never perform in front of strangers. The frustration of having nowhere to sing your favorite song on a Friday night was solved by Japan in 1971. Number 17. Paper soap sheets. Public hand washing is consistently undermined by a single point of failure: the shared soap dispenser. It runs out, it malfunctions, it's been touched by everyone who washed their hands before you, or it simply isn't there. Japan's paper soap sheets dissolve completely in water to produce a full lather from a thin sheet packaged in a card the size of a credit card, making hygienic soap available anywhere water exists without carrying a bottle, touching a shared surface, or relying on a facility's soap dispenser to be functional. You pull a sheet, add water, and the paper disappears into lather. The card holds enough sheets for weeks of daily use and sits flat in any wallet or pocket. The gap between wanting to wash your hands properly and being able to do so, regardless of location, disappeared the moment Japan put soap in a piece of paper small enough to carry everywhere you go. Number 18. Blue LED technology. The LED light bulb as it exists today, in your home, on your phone screen, in every display and energy-efficient light source in the world, required one component that nobody had managed to produce for decades: the blue LED. Without blue, white light was impossible, and the LED revolution couldn't happen. Japan's researchers cracked the problem in the 1990s using gallium nitride semiconductor technology, completing the color spectrum and making white LED light possible for the first time. The achievement was significant enough to earn the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2014. The practical consequence is that the energy-wasting, short-lived incandescent bulb that lit homes for over a century was replaced by a light source that uses a fraction of the energy, lasts decades rather than months, and costs significantly less to run. Every LED in your life exists because Japan solved a physics problem that had been unsolved for 30 years, and in doing so, changed how the entire world produces light. Number 19. Silicone shoe covers. Rain is not a scheduled event, and good shoes are not waterproof by default. The result is a familiar frustration. You leave the house in shoes that look good and return in shoes that are wet, stained, or damaged by the weather that arrived without warning between the two. Japan's silicone shoe covers slip over any footwear in seconds, seal against the sole, and provide complete waterproof coverage through rain, puddles, and wet ground, without requiring you to change into dedicated rain footwear or carry a spare pair of shoes for weather contingencies. They fold flat when not in use, fit in a bag or jacket pocket, and are reusable indefinitely. You keep a pair with you and deploy them when weather requires it, rather than planning your footwear around a forecast that may or may not be accurate. Japan made the solution to wet shoes portable enough to carry everywhere and simple enough to use in 10 seconds on a pavement in the rain. Number 20. Earthquake early warning systems. An earthquake arrives without a visible approach. There is no darkening sky, no building pressure, no warning that the ground is about to move. For most of human history, the first indication that an earthquake was happening was the shaking itself, by which point it was already too late to do anything except react. Japan's earthquake early warning system uses a national network of seismographs that detect the initial P waves of an earthquake the moment it begins, calculates the likely intensity and affected area, and broadcasts an alert to every mobile phone, television, and public speaker in the region in the seconds before the damaging shaking waves arrive. The window is small, sometimes seconds, occasionally up to a minute for distant earthquakes, but seconds are enough to stop a car, move away from a window, brace, or reach cover. Japan built a system that turns no warning into some warning, and in a country where earthquakes are annual certainties, some warning changed everything. Number 21. Refrigerators that open from both sides. The The refrigerator door has opened in one fixed direction since the appliance was invented. The hinge is set at the factory, the door swings out accordingly, and if your kitchen layout puts the hinge on the wrong side, you work around it for as long as you own the appliance. Japan's refrigerator manufacturers produce models with reversible door hinges that allow the opening direction to be configured based on how the kitchen is arranged, and French door models that split down the center so both sides open outward and the single direction swing problem disappears entirely. The engineering change required is minimal. The difference it makes in a kitchen where the original hinge direction blocks the counter, the walkway, or the person standing next to you is immediate and permanent. Japan asked why a refrigerator door only opened one way when nothing about keeping food cold required it to, and built the version that doesn't make you plan your kitchen around a hinge. The frustration of the wrong way fridge door simply stops existing. If you want to see more amazing things Japan is doing better than the rest of the world, then like and subscribe. And make sure to watch the video on your end screen. It's packed with even more frustration-fixing things.